Hey guys, so you just picked up your brand new Canon M50 and you're looking to step up your video quality game? Whether you're using it for family videos, corporate work, or anything in between, in this video, I'm gonna show you how to completely transform the image out of the M50 and turn this little mirrorless camera into a complete cinematic beast. Let's get started. Step number one with creating cinematic images with your Canon M50 is frame rate and resolution. So the Canon M50 offers multiple different frame rates and resolutions. So first off, in terms of frame rate, there's three main frame rates. There's 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, and 60 frames per second. A lot of these cameras come set by default using either 30 or 60, which isn't bad, but it does tend to give your image more of a broadcast news look, a little bit almost too crisp at times. It doesn't give you that natural motion blur that shooting at 24 frames per second gives you. So if you're looking to achieve the most cinematic results, I would say shoot at 24 frames per second, or if you're looking to do slow motion, you can shoot at 60 and then slow it down 50%. But if you are just looking to upload kind of more vlog style stuff to YouTube and you don't mind that video look, 30 frames per second is fine. And in terms of resolution for the Canon M50, though this camera is marketed as a 4K camera, I generally wouldn't recommend shooting in it because it crops the image even further. You get a lot more kind of rolling shutter, which is kind of like a jello effect to the image. You lose what I think is the Canon M50's most important feature, which is the awesome dual pixel autofocus. So you can just basically put it in auto and walk around and film people, which is a huge asset to any YouTuber or just modern content creator. Shooting in 1080p as opposed to 4K also has the added benefit of having slightly smaller files, so your files are a little bit more compressed, so you still get that happy medium of really good images, but a decent file size, so you're not completely having to go and buy hundreds of different external drives to edit off of. So step two, you want to make sure that your shutter speed on your camera is always double whatever frame rate you're shooting. So if you're going for the most cinematic image possible and you're shooting in 24 frames per second, you want to be shooting in 48th of a second shutter speed. Or on the Canon cameras, it doesn't let you go in those increments, so you want to be shooting the closest to it, which on the Canon is 50th of a second. And this basically gives you that natural motion blur like you'd see in real life. So when a hand's waving, you get that natural blur. Arguably, the most important part of creating quality video footage is the lens you put in front of your camera. So whether you're using a kit lens or a higher end aftermarket lens or a prosumer lens, my advice to you would be, if you're doing videos like this, or no matter what the scenario is, try and open your lens up as much as you can. This will provide that kind of blurry background that you're seeing here, and it will separate your subject from the background more. Whether you're shooting a person or you're shooting B-roll, it just tends to give a little bit more separation from the subject. Another way to do this, if you are using a kit lens or a lens that doesn't open up as wide as some of the more expensive lenses, is you can always zoom into your subject and just try and separate them as far as you can from the background. This will still provide a decent amount of depth of field and compression to get that image that you're looking for. Step number 4 is picture profiles. So typically when shooting video, specifically on Canon cameras like the M50, they're usually set up with a standard picture profile. And this is great for if you want to deliver footage right out of camera and have it already colored and saturated and contrasty and looking fantastic. But for people who want a little bit more flexibility, what I usually do and recommend others to do is go and create a custom neutral picture profile. So what I do is I take the neutral picture profile and I minus the contrast all the way, and then I add maybe 1 or 2 ticks of sharpness to maintain the sharpness but not keep things overly sharp. And the nice thing about this is it allows me to still have a image that can be deliverable out of camera. It's just a little bit flatter. Or if you want to do a little bit of color grading or still maintain a little bit more detail in the shadows and in the highlights, you have the ability to do a little bit more color grading in post-production. So ultimately, if you want a little bit more flexibility, I would say use the neutral picture profile minus contrast all the way, add 1 or 2 ticks of sharpness. Or if you do want an image that is just good right out of the camera, you can definitely stick with the regular neutral profile or even the standard profile. It's a creative decision that's up to you and whatever works best with your workflow. Step 5, lighting. So when creating video, one thing that a lot of people underestimate is how important lighting is. And this doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out and buy a whole lighting kit or anything like that. If you're just getting started, there's a lot of options on Amazon or at your local camera store that are in the $25 to $100 range, and these are generally little battery powered LEDs. The nice thing about these is that because they're on battery, you can take them on location easily and light your scenes, or you can throw them in the background to add a pop of color. But most importantly, if you're shooting people, the best advice I can give you without having to even purchase a light is go near a natural light source, whether that's a window or a lamp or anything that you're close by, and just try and diffuse it as much as you can. So a cheap way of doing this is use a white bed sheet that you have, or use a shower curtain, and essentially this is just gonna soften the light and spread the beam out of it so it's a little bit more flattering on your subject you're shooting. So a bonus tip is audio. You could have the best quality images out there, but a lot of people won't want to watch it if you don't have decent quality audio. So a microphone that I always recommend is the Rode Video Micro. It can plug right into mirrorless cameras like the Canon M50 or even cell phones or anything like that with the right adapter. I've created a review and I've linked it in the description if you want to check that out as well. So thanks for watching this video, guys. If you learned anything from it, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram @FilmZach, and leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about this video, or if you guys have any of your own tips that you found out that help you create cinematic images with your camera. Thanks a lot, guys, and until next time, copy and create. Peace.